Good morning and welcome. Uh, I'm very privileged, honored to be here and welcome you, three of you, very young entrepreneurs. I was trying to recall of my time when I was teen, where we hardly used to have an interaction with a neighboring village. The society was so narrow. I look young, but I'm talking about few decades back. So today the world has become so close, it's so narrowed down. The impact of globalization that brought us together in this one forum. And let's hear the successful stories of these three young teens in the dais. So first of all, I would like to welcome Sankalp from India. Maybe in the morning networking session you interacted with Sankalp as well. I would also like to welcome Hong Ang Thia. Did I pronounce it clearly? Wonderful. I've never done that before. And one of our invited panelists fell sick this morning, so I think we have to wish him for his immediate recovery. Mr. Prajesh Khanal could not make it, but we have another dashing personality in the stage. Shaklin, wow, you're from Bangladesh. I would like to welcome you as well. So, yes, so let's without any ado, I would like to, so maybe a basic format, let me tell you, we'll be talking about an hour. Ashish, we'll be talking about an hour. And first session for first few minutes, about half an hour, I'll be putting forward some questions on social perspective. And I would like to request you to equally participate in the process. So you can think for some ideas to discuss with these three successful teens in the state. So let me start with, I was thinking to start with Sankalp, but I would rather go with Hong, ladies first. You know, in most of the societies in this part of the world, it's very hard for teenagers to be believed, or the society have their own perspective about teens. Can you tell us about your impression in your society? How does your society consider youths?
Hi, my name is Hong Ang, or you can call me Tia, it's a lot easier. I'm also from an area where there's not a lot of kind of like initiative or a lot of just teens rising up. But I feel like the problem is not about believing that the society has a problem. It's more of believing in yourself as young people that you can actually make a change, and that your idea can be like actually possible, and that your idea can actually impact a lot of people. And I think it's more believing in your own abilities and.
Well, Saklin, what about in Bangladesh? Are youths heard? Does society listen to you?
Well, first of all, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm Saklain Morshid from Bangladesh. So I'll be very much honest with my opinion. In Bangladesh, the social perspective, the thinking, the manners, and the boundaries are quite limited for the youths. First of all, they don't prefer to believe us because it goes like a chain in Bangladesh. Like, first of all, you go into a school, then you join a college, then get a degree, get a job, and then get married. That's how it works in most of the cases. So whenever you try to take an initiative of doing something unique, doing something good, first of all, the main barrier comes from our parents. It's an honest answer from our parents, because they think like, okay, beta, you are going to do this thing. What if you fail? Like, we are investing so much money for your future, for your school fees, tuition fees. Like, what if you fail? Then all of our money is going to get waste. And very funnily, the second barrier comes from the neighbor, from our, the neighbor people, especially the bhabis out there. They be like, out of nowhere, one fine night, they will call your mom and they will be like, Bhabhi, I saw your daughter walking in the street with a guy. I saw your son doing something else apart from study. Are you taking proper care of him or her? So that's the exact point when our parents get worried. Okay, Morshid, what are you exactly doing apart from your study? It might hamper your grade, it might hamper your future. So that's the very first stage that we actually get to face before taking an initiative or doing something great.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Saklan. Sankalp, it's again the same society, Nepal, India, and Bangladesh, but it's again, is the environment or is the culture that shapes your mind, but you again have your intentions of doing something. So does that particular environment disrupt your institution, or as Saklan said, it's an institution that drives your traits?
First off, good evening, good afternoon, sir, and a very good afternoon to the ladies and gentlemen present here. I think that the society is basically divided into two parts. And one part is, so both of them would criticize you or be very critical about anything that you tend to take up, especially if it's something that is not stereotypical for your age. And it depends on you how you take up that criticism. So I believe that there are two kinds of criticism. One is positive and one is negative. And it's the negative criticism that you ignore and the positive criticism that you take in and use to, drive out change and actually drive out your work and grow from it. So initially when I had started off, a lot of people talking about my work in a positive or negative manner would affect me a lot. But eventually I realized that they are just people that are talking and it's actually we that are going ahead and doing the work. So I just believe that that becomes secondary for me and I start, making my own choices first. That's something that I believe in.
Okay, Hong, let's please share your work that you've been doing in Vietnam and how difficult it is.
As you guys all know, I'm still a bit young, so my achievements are a bit humble and not as many as some of my fellow panelists. So I've worked with some charity organizations such as Hanoi International Women's Club, where they empower women that have suffered sexual abuse. And also I've worked with Operation Smile, which provides surgery to children with cleft lip. Also, I've done some work with UNICEF in my region, and my idea for a seawater powered fan for people living near the sea banks won second place in a senior innovation category in a global youth summit in Cambodia. It's been also my main research project for the last year, and I represented my school in the Global Issues Network in Shanghai. In 9th grade, I had a clothing store where I donate all the profit to charity. I'm also the president of my school's chapter of National Honor Society, which is a service entity that provides service and brings service opportunities to the school. And my prize kind of accomplishment, and the one I'm most proud of, is being the director of operations at Sustainable Agriculture and Social Enterprise is Sansei. And the reason why it's my favorite and it's my prize accomplishment is, well, after extensive work for a year, we have developed a more sustainable way of doing charity. And yeah, I would love to talk about that, but time's sake, so.
Please, go ahead. You can explain about that. And maybe since we are talking about the social perspective side about teens, you can also give me a picture about how the youths in Vietnam had been contributing in sustainable development, maybe like agriculture or environmental issues.
So there are a lot of charity organizations in Vietnam. Some are student-led, some are more like adult-led, but students help out sometimes. And it's been like an increasing trend, and a lot of people have been doing it. And for the sites of sustainable charity, well, at least for my organization, we try to tackle the word sustainability in two ways. First, by promoting sustainable growth of impoverished geographically isolated communities, by helping them with education and career services, where they can learn and then flutter their own wings and provide for themselves in the future. And also a more sustainable organization standpoint. So most of the money that we raise are not from donations, but from doing a lot of events. And now we're having like an organic tea label where we're working with other companies to disperse the product and reach out to the market in the near future.
Sakleen, share us about the stories in Bangladesh, how have youth been contributing in the sustainable development approaches?
Well, sir, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my project out there. So, as per it is already mentioned that I work in 10-minute school as the head of communication out there and also as an operation assistant. So, what do? We teach over 500,000 students every single day, that too completely free of cost. So, how did we do that? Basically, the project leader, Mr. Ayman Sadiq, once he was up with his plan that this generation is kind of manipulated by the technology, by Facebook, by YouTube, and it's one of our most favorite platforms these days. Like we will love to spend like hours and hours in Facebook, in sharing photos. In fact, right now I can say at least 10 people are browsing your newsfeed like out there. So it's quite common these days. So we chose this particular platform named Facebook to provide our educational content to teach people completely free of cost. Now, how did we actually do that? So we got a Facebook page out there with more than 1 million subscribers. And do you know the live feature of Facebook? I guess all of you are familiar with that, right? So what do? We simply target the study hour of Bangladeshi students, like, at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Usually the study time is around that time in Bangladesh. We take live classes taken by our special instructors, like people from engineering sectors, people from medical sectors, goes live from our studio and teaches people. And in every single live session, we get over more than 2 lakhs or 3 lakh students watching directly. And the most interesting part about the live feature is they kept commenting in the live section, and our instructor replies almost all of their questions, all of their doubts out there. So recently, all we're doing is the national curriculum in Bangladesh, like it's quite sad for me to say, the education system is not that much developed like the European countries out there. So what are we doing? It's like whenever you need to learn something new, you need to go to the school first and need to pay some extra money for the tuition fees, like, private tuitions out there. That's quite popular in Bangladesh. So people from middle age, people from middle income, people from lower income cannot actually afford those things. Like, first of all, they need to pay their tuition fees in school. Then in private sector, it's quite impossible for a middle income country like us. So what we do, since internet is quite available there and Facebook is almost in everyone's hand, we go live, we got content, we got videos over more than 10,000 of each and every chapters of each and every subject of each and every grade, from class 1 to 10, from social science to Bengali to English mathematics, from chapter 1 to chapter 10, we got individual videos taken by the specialist, taken by the professors, taken by the teachers, lecturers, and every day we receive a web traffic of over 2 or 3 million, where people goes to our website, learns those things, and we receive feedback like, thank you 10-minute school, thank you Sakla and Morshed, thank you Ayman Sadiq for giving us this wonderful opportunity in such a country where we can actually get educated, that too completely free of cost. That's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakleen. I'm sure you are not sharing this experience just because of knowing me that I'm a journalist. I was thinking to discuss about the impact of mass communication impact in terms of your work later on. But again, we will go back there again. Let me go to Sankalp about, you have been working in the field of climate and mobilizing youths, it shouldn't be that easy, but can you share us your stories or your accomplishment in this particular sector, mobilizing youth?
Yeah. So I would say about 5 years back was when I started working on climate change, about sometime around 6th or 7th grade. There was this one point wherein everyone had started talking about global warming, and suddenly it had become one of the leading issues around the world. And I've been a very inquisitive kid, all my childhood, and so what does a student do when you have a query? You go to your teachers. And I would go to my teachers every day asking them, why is global warming happening? They would say pollution. I say, why is pollution happening? And I would keep questioning them every day till I reached a point where they were out of answers. And being a public speaker, I watched a lot of TED Talks, and that's when I had stumbled upon the ex-vice president of the US, Al Gore. I had stumbled upon his TED Talk, and that 30 to 40 minutes basically answered every single question I had. It explained to me the biggest problem of global warming and climate change, and that is when I decided, I need to take up this issue at this age. So what I did was I started doing a lot of volunteering activities, not only in my school but with other organizations, and I kept building on that at the local level, at the society level, in villages around. And post that, I applied for something called the Climate Reality Leadership Training Program, where Al Gore chooses some of the finest climate change activists from around the world to represent your country. And in 2016, I became India's youngest climate reality leader to be trained by him. And the people that are generally chosen for this are, much older scientists and sustainability experts and people who've retired from their, work and are now taking it up as a social thing in their retirement. But I was, selected as a climate reality leader at the age of 15. So since then, I started working on a lot of advocacy. I was going to schools and colleges and talking to people, talking to youngsters that were my age, because youngsters can really, connect to people of their own age. Generally, if an older person comes out, it tends to become a lecture and tends to become rather boring, or not everyone's interested. But when a youngster and someone with a similar mindset can come and explain the issue to them, they tend to, understand better and tend to reciprocate better. Eventually, I decided that, climate change is not an issue that only affects the youth, but people of all age groups and people from around the world and every strata of the society. And therefore, I decided that, I'm going to have different kinds of presentations and speeches to connect with the right audience. So now I was talking in schools and colleges, I was talking in orphanages, in villages, with companies. One of my most glorious presentations was where 200 soldiers of the Indian Army came out and pledged to conserve water. Now this went extremely viral. This went extremely viral for two reasons. One, an Indian army man, an army of any country, is already giving their all for the country. And these 200 soldiers actually came a step ahead and said, we are also going to conserve water. This was one reason. And the second, the fact that a 16-year-old was motivating them. This was something that took by storm around the country, and people were really inspired. So I started working not only on climate change, I started working with certain organizations called Walk for Water, and I was the Karnataka state head for the same, where we would organize these huge walks around the country on 22nd of March, which is World Water Day, to raise awareness for the same issue. Now, post that, I had several opportunities to represent the country, for example, at the United Nations headquarters in New York and in South Korea for the IYC, which is International Youth Fellowship Leadership Conference. What happened while I was doing all of this was I was able to build a very strong youth network of young leaders from around the world that have the same passion and drive as me to bring about change in the society, and not just for one issue like climate change, but maybe all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And about 5 years back, I had decided and came up with a brainchild of mine, which I wanted to execute, and I did so 3 months back. It's called the Such Foundation, where we aim to start the biggest youth network in the world of young leaders that are bringing about change through simple acts of kindness. So in 2 weeks, for example, we wanted to work on no poverty, and in 2 weeks, we were able to donate over 10,000 pieces of clothing around the world. In Nigeria, clothes were donated in terror relief camps, in India, in slums, in Malawi, in Peru, in Senegal, and around the world. So therefore, I want to start a chapter here in Nepal to involve Nepalese youth and work with them. If a Nepalese youth leader comes up with an amazing idea through brainstorming sessions that can bring about massive change in a simple manner, we won't only execute it in Nepal, but in all the such countries where such is present. So with that simple mindset of bringing about change through youth network, youth learning from each another, and at the same time working together through simple projects that bring about massive change is something that I've been working on.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sankalp. Wonderful. Hong, would you like to share something like, as Sankalp said, like you must have, in your country also, people might have walked for water or similar help, as he said, or maybe the network that you have been doing to multiply your actions?
So actually, for my organization, we have been connecting with a lot of other places outside. First, starting with like local high schools. So we connected with two of the biggest international schools in Hanoi, which is where I come from. And also we have gotten to connect internationally to the Vietnamese Student Association in New York University, which is the top 30 or top 20 universities in the world. And also talking about just expanding the network and also having a lot of big events. Well, we have personally, one of the main things that we raise funds using is having big events where we can link a lot of people, like this room, to have a lot of people network with each other and build friendship and also build maybe strategic partners in the future. You never know. Just meeting new people and yeah.
Tell me how have you been use new media, social media like Facebook and Twitter as Saklin and Sankalp shared about promoting their works?
We have a Facebook page for our organization so we can reach out to more people. And also we have websites and Instagram to do that too. But unlike my fellow panelists' work, our work is not mainly based on social media, but more on helping people in like geographically isolated regions where internet might not be that prominent. But in the future, social media will be a big thing that we tackle on as we're building, because as we're starting out like a new chapter where we're creating like our own product to sell to the market.
Okay, Saklin, I have few friends in Bangladesh who works in media.
Okay.
And let's talk about my field now.
Sure.
What about you people?
Sure.
So basically, idea is, in theories, when you learn about media, it said media is controlled by powerful people.
Yes.
Who have money. Money controls media. Let's not go to the political side how media is controlled in Bangladesh, but tell me about how have media covered the youth issues in Bangladesh? How have media contributed, or let's say the larger mass communications have contributed to your work, despite the new media, Facebook or social media that you have been using in your own, but tell us about how the mass media, the traditional media have been supporting your work.
Well, in that case, I would be honestly speaking, our medias are quite supportive in this kind of conferences, like, where the youths are getting engaged with some social work, some social stuff, and something that might help the society in few years later or maybe suddenly. So whenever you will be attending any kind of conferences out there, you will be seeing plenty of journalists out there covering stuff, taking your interviews, because right now what we think in Bangladesh that this generation is totally different from the previous generation. Like technology has influenced us in that much level that we cannot actually compare those activities with our recent activities. It's not like they are backdated, but they were traditional in their time, but the tradition is changing, the world is changing, and we need to cope up with that. Bangladesh is a very small country compared to the most other country, and it's trying their level best to cope up with the European countries and countries like Malaysia, Nepal, India. So in that, with this situation to compete with in these global challenges, we need help from the mass media. We need help from the mass communication. So just for, I'm giving you a very practical example. Here, we are 3 speakers are sitting here. 4 speakers were there previously, and probably for a few more speakers will be there afterwards. So 14 or 15 people are out here only. But do you think in this total South Asian region, there are only 15 people out there who has got some entrepreneurship skills, who had got some communication skills? Definitely no. Then why they are not here right now? It's not like all of them are not eligible enough. The main point is they don't know about this stuff, that something is happening in Kathmandu, something is happening in India. The message is not reaching those people. So our communication department, our journalism department is working on that sector so that people at least get to know about this. Okay, there is a platform out there where you can actually speak your hearts out, you can share your ideas, and let the other people know, okay, you got something to say.
That's wonderful. Let me also add on the opinion that I said earlier. It's not just now the situation have changed. Initially, it was believed that the media was owned by powerful people, the elites in the society. But now, when the new media, the social media emerged, it is believed that it's me media again. You have your media in your hand. The media today is called me media. It's my media. You can disseminate any information you want through your page, your Facebook page or Twitter. And don't underestimate that media saying that it may not have a larger reach. It's within your friends or within your circle. It's only because maybe the things that you're posted is not that interest to the rest of the world. When it's something interesting to the rest of the world, it will spread like, it might spread faster than in the mass media. So Sankalp, tell me in your context, I think in many ways, India have practiced in highest level. The films produced in India, the numbers of film produced in India is bigger than the number produced in Hollywood. Bollywood have become bigger than Hollywood. India has the largest railway network. Likewise, I think in mass communication as well, India have the largest. The biggest number of television stations, the broadcasting is in India, not in any rest of the countries in the world. So tell us how that biggest industry in your country have addressed teens issues.
I personally feel like my friend here said, they're very, very supportive. For example, on 22nd of March, when I hosted the Walk for Water in Karnataka, it was the first time it was taking place in the state of Karnataka, and at the same time, the first time a walk was organized by such a youngster. It was amazing how the media covered it, because the entire walk was covered by almost every single news channel of India and several newspapers as well. Mm-hmm. Most of the work that I tend to do in India or abroad is receiving a lot of support from all kinds of media. And I'm not only talking about news channels, but also newspapers and radio stations that are coming out in support of understanding the issues that I'm working alongside. And they understand the fact where everybody else, like apart from the leaders here and certain leaders that aren't present here, youngsters tend to generally, school, fun, sports, movies, have fun, go back to school. That's the basic lifestyle. But when leaders like us tend to do something unique, tend to do something that is not stereotypical, media tends to support it a lot. And I believe it has been like that. Even in Nepal, I've been in Nepal for about 5-7 days now. And I've been doing certain speeches and presentations in colleges and Leo clubs and Rotary clubs. Media has approached me here in Nepal and has been really supportive. Like the Republica newspapers, they came and did an entire interview on this entire mission that I'm starting here in Nepal. It's called Mission Sustainable Nepal. And also other news channels and newspapers. So I believe at least now in the 21st century, the media is supporting issues like this and supporting youngsters that are working towards it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you. And I think let me also give you tips. You may like to organize an event or anything like that. The media or the inclusion issues have, the idea of inclusion, the theory of inclusion have broadened and it have practiced in the same manner. When people would rather love to have a diversification in the news as well. So I would see more chances of press coming to cover the stories of teens rather than the same monotonous reporting of political party or any other systems in the society. So I would definitely like to encourage you as well to utilize the strength of media in coming days. Let me go to Hong. Do you have a similar stories in Vietnam? I think, is that a Voice of Vietnam? What is the radio called in Vietnam?
Honestly, the media in Vietnam do not really care that much about what young people do. like the only articles you really see about young people is that like, oh, she got into like 3 Ivy League universities and like she got full ride and scholarships and such. Like they care a lot about ranking and prestige and just education, but like the traditional type of education. It's never sports, it's never art, or it's never social work. With social work, I mean, it's not like the media exclude it entirely, they just don't care.
What about the youths using new media, social media?
In social media, as I said before, service entities and charity organizations are a big like trend nowadays in Vietnam. So there's a lot of like kind of like abundancy and very much like it's oversaturated and that's why I don't think like social media or like the media in general is that like great for promoting social work in Vietnam.
How many friends do you have in your Facebook?
I have 600, I think.
Okay, count me as well. I'll send you a friend request by this afternoon. I think we're done with media. Let's talk about the challenges of youth in your society. Sankalp, do you mind sharing honestly? I've noticed Saklen most of the time making his statements saying honestly. This is something you really have to be honest. And you know how the teens are considered in your family, you know, like basically, anyways, you got my point. So what are the challenges to be teens?
I think the first barrier itself that teenagers that are working towards the society face are other teenagers criticizing them, because for people our age group, working towards the society isn't exactly like a cool thing. You know, if you're in the acting field or if you're into sports, that's considered cool. But if you're working on climate change, what the hell is wrong with this guy? You know, that's what is thought of. So in 10th grade, I'm not boosting, but I was that super cool, fun guy who will hang out with everybody and, you know, be the cool one. But eventually, post that, when I started taking this work extremely seriously, I received massive criticism. And surprisingly, not just from my peers and friends, but also to a certain level from my teachers, which was, you know, extremely shocking and surprising. But like I said, it depends on how you use that criticism. In the beginning, I used to let it affect me a lot, wherein I think 6 months into my work, I was, you know, thinking I don't really need to do this. There are people much older than me that are, and I could do it later. But I think it's the drive within you that keeps you going. But yes, I have faced massive criticism. There have been points, I mean, when I started working with Walk for Water, and people start to get to know that there's this young guy, Sankalp, who's working on water conservation. There was this, you know, really bad prank that was played where someone threw water on my chair, basically wetting my pant, and the entire class burst into laughter because it was so funny. And the worst part was someone sarcastically commented saying, "Don't throw water, throw something else, he's conserving water." And you know, these are small examples that I was facing day to day, not only in school but also around my neighborhood. And it really, really affected me. I will be super honest about it. In the beginning, it tend to, you know, make me deter from my path. But eventually, you tend to realize, once my work around December 2017, my work was recognized by President Obama and the Obama Foundation. And suddenly, there was a change in perspective. Now, everyone thought Sankalp is a cool guy working on climate change because President Obama is involved. So that's when I realized, you know, people will say, but to ignore it or take it or use it to, you know, basically build yourself stronger and better. Yeah.
I know you are still very young. It's not the right time to ask that question. I'll ask that question later on about your. I'll come back later on. Saklin, share us the same story. What is in your society? How challenged is to be a teen?
Well, I would like to state two major points that we actually face in our country. And number one is the women's security. You know, like when I was coming here from the airport, I saw many women, like youths like us, are riding bikes and also giving lift to a male one. But if that same thing happens in our country, you will see thousands of people are video recording it, and in the same night, it's uploaded in Facebook with millions of likes, haha reacts, and angry reacts, and so many other stuff. So the very basic things, a major portion of our country still thinks that women should not work. It's very sad to say they don't prefer our women to work in the field, to work in the corporate sector, to work in the social sector. So I personally believe women are always plays an essential part in whatever project you are leading, in whichever project you are, because your mindset can be different, a girl's mindset can be different. You need to think from her perspective too, and her perspective can be expressed by her only. So that's one major point that we actually face in our country, where women's contribution is not appreciated at all, not in all cases, but in most of the cases. And the second thing is the mindset. Like my brother just mentioned that his people from his own age, his own class, were criticizing him due to his something boring work, like something like a global warming. Like, dude, man, it's time to watch some movies. Let's go grab some popcorns. Let's go hang out, have some chill. Why are you wasting your time in global warming or in educational sector? And meanwhile, my dad, when he got to hear that I work in an educational sector where we promote education in the Facebook, his first comment was, man, Facebook is there for you so that you can random friend request to beautiful girls. So I was like, no, Dad, that's not all about Facebook. Facebook can be used in some other ways too. So the mindset, they all think that, okay, you are a teenager, what are you capable of? You should study, do some bazaar for your family, and get some snack and study. People from our country, people from our, my business idea have won 2 international business competition already in the global platform. So I saw there that plenty of participants from all over the world are coming and presenting their ideas. So I was like, okay, there are participants, 4 or 5 participants from Nepal, 4 or 5 persons from India. Why am I the only one from Bangladesh? Then I researched about a bit, and then I got to hear, well, they got their business idea, they have it in a draft way, they send it to a random, companies to approve it, but the barrier comes from the social sector, from the parent side, from the relative side. They all think like, okay, you are just in a BBA sector. You can do business. Okay, beta, after your graduation, I will give you 50 lakh taka. You can start your own business up there. But till then, just study. Focus on your own study. That's all. So these are the 2 major points that we used to deal in every day there. But then again, exceptions are happening. People are raising their voice. People are doing great. But still, I believe there are a lot of rooms to be improved in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Sakleen. Let me also add you, it's not just the barrier that comes from society or from relatives. It's again the opportunity come from those people again. It could be a little later, but it's again the society, it's again the environment that nourishes your ambition. So Hong, let's tell us about these 2 countries are neighboring countries, India and Bangladesh. It could be something different in Vietnam. Tell us about the challenges that the teenagers have been facing in Vietnam. Or maybe they might be getting an opportunity rather.
There are, I would say about 80% of the population of youth is like what they describe, would be the ones that would be, that would say things like, why not watch a movie? Why not just chillax, And cause you're studying so hard, just chill. But I think they've kind of gave you guys a really good overview of how those people are. But I want to address people that do service and social work really half-heartedly. So in Vietnam, we have a trend to do social service just to put on your resume, to just show that you did something. But some people, I don't want to, okay, wait. So some people do service half-heartedly by the way that they do it, but just because of the name. They join certain service organizations, but they don't really do anything. They just join so they can put something on their resume. And that's why service kind of has a bad name in Vietnam. It's like, are you really doing this because you're passionate? Or are you doing this for some other external reasons? And that's kind of maybe why that charity has charitable organizations have kind of been oversaturated, because most of them are not real. Most of them exist for a year so that student can finish applying to universities in the US or something, and after they got accepted, the entire charity organization closed off. And that's really, yeah, it really pains me to say that.
Sankalp, would you like to list the advantages, as you said, you shared about the challenges that the youths have been facing. So what are the opportunities? What are the advantages being youth, being teens, being teenager?
I think there are massive opportunities because people that work towards the social sector generally tend to be rather older, and so if we're teenagers, we have massive opportunities because it's not a saturated market, I would say. Secondly, if you're trying to work on advocacy, it really works when you're talking to the same age group, you know. Like I said before, if an older person is talking, it's not that interesting, but when we have this teen conference here and you actually have youngsters coming and sharing their perspectives from around the world, youth can tend to connect better to them than to someone from an older age group. That's the first. And second, youngsters have separate ways of conveying ideas. The stereotypical ways would be, you know, presentations and speeches which are full of facts and factual data. But youth are starting to come out and talk about personal stories, stories that have brought about change in their lives, stories that can inspire and motivate. And these stories really, you know, convey the point without any factual data at all. So massive opportunities for the youth because it's a very upcoming thing now where youngsters are working towards the society, and I think it works really well for them.
Sakleen, I would like to repeat the same question, and I wish the people here be inspired with your answer.
Well, basically this age limitation, you know, from 13 to 19, this is the time where we love to copy others, where we feel like, okay, he's doing this thing, then I can do this thing as well. Or we like to copy each other's style, each other's...
My next question is about your role model.
Okay, so during this age, whenever someone is there in this stage, you feel like, okay, this guy is doing something, then why am I here? Sitting on my bedroom, just watching over the television. So it's the best time for the teenagers, for the youth people to learn new things. And since it's a teenager stage, you are physically capable enough to provide your, imply your energy, to imply your knowledge, to use your knowledge and to research a lot, because you got plenty of time in your hand, right? We don't have that much responsibility like feeding your mother, feeding your father, feeding the families. We have got time. We just need to utilize it. Like in previous session, someone said time is money. Yes, time is actually money if you know how to utilize it properly.
No, sorry, Hong. It's very confusing, you know. Your alphabet starts with
It's Huang Ang.
Wang Ang. I frequently have to look at your spelling, and I've written in Nepali script, Hong Ang. Tia, it's your, yeah. So tell us about the opportunities you think being a teenager.
I mean, there are so many opportunities being a teenager. Just because you're young, so if you fail, you can learn. And I think one of the biggest thing about having just doing things when you're at this age is just learn and then improve and then change and then don't make those mistakes again. Also, as for like personally, for my experience as a teen, whenever I contact like a school about like something, and I could just add like, oh, I'm a part of this high school and we're student-led charity organizations, it's 90% sure that the school will help us and that we will get some kind of discount if we're talking to like a guide or something for an event. So yeah, massive opportunities.
Okay, before going to the next session, I'd like to entertain some of the questions from the floor. Yes, lovely. 1, 2, oh, a few more hands, yes. So we start from here. Okay, please remember your hands. You raised your hands, so I'll just pass the mic from this corner to that corner, and then we'll have a second round. Let's finish the raised hands, about 6 to 7 from here to that corner.
Hello, this is Sajidan from Bangladesh. So my question is to Sankalp. You went to US 2 times, as you said to me. So So you might have an interest on doing something on climate change in US, but what about Donald Trump has already cut down the name of US in the international peace climate agreement? So what's your plan? How can you build the mentality towards climate change in US? And my second question is to Mr. Saklan Morshed. It's that you already said about you support women empowerment. As you're the head of communication of 10-Minute School, so what are the future initiatives for women empowerment from 10-Minute School? So that's all the questions.
Let's take 7 questions and then answer. Yep, next.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions, and it's for all of the panelists. The first question is, what is that thing that you have not done, but you really want to do and inspire others? And the second question is, it's a bit kind of jolly kind of. What do you guys do in free time? Because you guys seem like 45 years old, or maybe 35 years old, 45 years old, like just thinking about conferences.
What about me?
And so you look like 25. So.
I look young, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what do you guys do in free time? What are your hobbies? And the other thing is, do you have girlfriends and boyfriends? Thank you.
Is that question for me as well? Okay.
So my question is for all the panelists. You know, here we are not able to change our own mindset, the negative perspectives that we have. So how can we change the negative mindsets, the negative perspectives of the people they have towards the society? Thank you.
So my question is for all the panelists. If I want to start a social enterprise, how do I do it? And I have no money. How do I do it?
Thank you. I have 3 to 4 questions. My first question is that how do you see the present education system in practical sense, and how is it promoting or leading to in what contributing in what you do? The second one is that in long term, you see, when you are in the social enterprise, at the end of the day, you have to look about how you will make money when you get ahead with what you do. So at the present stage, what ideas and what thoughts do you have on taking what you do or new ideas to monetize it? And the last one I would like to ask you that Sankalp said, and Sir was as well promoting the point that small ideas can bring a big change, and that the journalist and the media wants to cover the issues of youth. So you said that it would be good for the media as well. So how precisely can we contact, I personally am working on the project, contact you people about what I am doing or what we are doing, and make it a part, make people know about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I like your spirit, and just to make sure that everybody gets the turn, let's keep 1 question each for now, and then okay, and then to that last table. Yeah.
My question is to Sankalp. He said that you got barrier from the family and society. How you overcome from society and yourself? Actually, our mind, if someone says you can do it, we have that concept that I can do it or not. How do you overcome from that?
Okay, to the raised hand already in that last table, I think.
So hello everyone, this is Mr. Darshan Subedi, Glocal's 2018. So I have a question to all of them, and I would also like to request Mr. Pathak right there to share your insight on this. So what I believe is, like, we have been talking about social perspective. So what do you think? What are the intensives or what are the strategies that government of different 3 countries doing in order to promote social enterprise? And also the question to 3 of the panelists over there. So what kind of business model are you planning to adopt? Because, just having social business right there, it won't let you earn money. And, like at the end, money is something that you need at the end in order to upscale or in order to do next, or to scale that out. So these are the 2 questions. Thank you.
So we're done? The last, I can see the hand being raised in the last corner.
Yeah, so my question is for all the panelists. So while working in this field, there are lots of problems, like we have to tackle a lot of problems in the society. Like our South Asian countries are like of narrow-minded and so much conservatives. So how do you tackle with the problems like that are so much deep-rooted, and how you communicate with the people? So that's my question. Like, thank you.
We're done? Yeah, over here. Did you raise in the beginning? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So finally, I got the opportunity. So my question is, what are the right organizations for seeking help? And how to enlarge my work or how to broaden my organization? Thanks.
Okay, I think we are done. And some, if you find any questions not exactly related to you, you can skip those questions to the organizer. Kajol and Ashish are sitting there just in front of us. So, and you can, not literally you have to answer one by one, you can just sum up and then come up with some, statements, turn by turn, any of you,
To quickly touch upon every question and then stress upon one that I thought was really nice. The first question that came to me was, what can we do in the United States with Donald Trump coming in and not supporting climate action? Like I said, I aim to only and solely work with the youth because they are some of the most open-minded people willing to learn and question stereotypical ideas. So what I did, one of my campaigns with my Such Foundation to battle climate change was plantations. And without any government support through CSR funds, we were able to collaborate with other organizations and plant 3,500 saplings in Bangalore and create a Miyawaki forest. When I did that, my team in Nigeria planted 400 saplings and they are taking care of it in the right manner and things like that. So a government shouldn't really be able to stop us if you're willing to approach the right people and connect and collaborate with them. Second, someone asked me what do I do in my free time. So I love playing basketball. I've been playing basketball ever since I was a kid, and my dad played for country, so that's one of my favorite hobbies. How do you change negative mindset? You don't change negative mindset. You try to ignore negative mindset, and it will change on its own eventually when they see you grow. That is something that has happened in my personal case, where people have come, criticized, seen me grow, reach all the way to President Obama, and have all the way come back and been like, oh, Sankalp, you're the coolest guy, you're such a nice guy. So you don't really change negative mindset, you ignore it, and you keep doing what you're doing and don't let that affect you. Someone asked us about the education system. I thought this was something that I'd like to answer. There was this amazing example that I saw on the internet where they showed how a phone looked about 50 years back and how it looks now, all thin and beautiful. How a television set looked all fat and big and occupying a lot of space, and now a television looks super thin and huge and you can like watch a movie and feel like a theater experience at home. But how did the education system, how did classrooms look 50 years back and how do they look now? Exactly similar. So I believe there needs to be massive change done in the education sector, and it's one of the most lacking behind parts of this entire issue of sustainable development. Someone spoke to me about finance, how can we finance our ideas. Something that has worked really well for me for either the projects that I wanted to implement or when I was traveling abroad to represent the country of India, I worked on a lot of crowdfunding. So you guys may not all know about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is basically online platforms, websites, where you can put ahead your story, share with people around the world what you're doing and how much money you're raising and why you're raising it, and they will come out and support you. People from around the world if it's an international organization. So please look at crowdfunding. Then I'm going to go to, it's a social work that we're doing, so how do we make profits? Nowadays, we don't only have startups that are only working on business models and blah, blah, blah. We have something called social startups. Startups that come up with innovative technologies to battle social issues and at the same time charge for those technologies even if it's a bare minimum. So people are doing massive good work and at the same time charging for it, and when required, maybe for someone from a poor or financially weaker background, they do it for free. So social startups is a way of making money if you're really wanting to do something with profits. And how to broaden my organization was another question. Collaborate, and this is one of the best places to do so. If you have an organization, this is something that I am doing, if you have an organization in Nepal, you can connect with this guy and he'll get it popular and he'll start working towards it in Bangladesh. You tell me and I love the idea, I will personally work towards it in India. So I think it's very, very easy, and networking and connecting with people who you can really, understand and people who have the same drive as you, I think that's what works really well. And there's a last question, my favorite one, so if you don't mind, I'm going to take 2 minutes.
Please go ahead.
How can a small idea bring about massive change? Okay, so this is a very small story I'll share with you all, and I really wanted to do this. In Nepal, are we familiar with kabadiwalas? Yeah, we guys know what a kabadiwala is. For people who don't, kabadiwala is someone who comes to your house probably once in 2 weeks or once a month, takes all your old newspapers by weight and gives you a certain cost for it. Now, I found this very, very weird. When I was a youngster, 7th grade, I found it very weird that someone who was from a financially unsecure background, didn't have food every day, didn't have shelter, was giving me money. A guy who was from a rather secure background. And I questioned the idea simply because I didn't believe in, letting everything stereotypically work. So I go to my dad and I say, Pa, can I start giving him my newspapers free of cost and not charge for it? He said, Beta, if that's what you want to do, that's what you should. And I started giving my kabadiwala newspapers free of cost. 1 month in, 2 months in, I started giving him my books and magazines free of cost, books that I wasn't using, books from a previous grade, free of cost. 7 months in, 8 months in, and I live in a colony, and my friends get to know what I'm doing. So they say, we are going to do this too. It makes a lot of sense. We are going to give our newspapers free of cost, we are going to give it all free of cost. Then I realized that in our houses, we have some things that we don't use at all. A phone cover, the phone of which you don't have anymore, toys, clothes, so many things that we aren't using, could be new, could be old. I decided I'm going to give him everything. I start doing that on a monthly basis, and I keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. 10, 11, 12 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. Now the thing was that my kabadiwala spoke the native language of Kannada, and I spoke Hindi. So we never communicated through words, but simply through actions. I have newspapers, today I don't have newspapers, I'm this, I'm that, so only through actions. 2 years later, one day he came to my door, rang the bell, and I opened the door, I see him, I say, no more newspaper, I have no newspaper today. And he says, no, he's trying to communicate something and I can't understand what he's saying. I try to understand, I'm unable to. 5 minutes into the conversation, he tears up and falls down. So I sit, beside him, I start patting his back, trying to understand what the issue is. I'm super worried because I'm super young and I don't know why someone's coming to my house and crying. And he keeps on sobbing, very emotional. And it takes a lot of courage for a guy to actually show his emotion. So he's crying, I cannot understand what the reason is. And there's a rag bag, a bag in which he takes all the newspapers and all the things I give him. So that day he opened that bag and took out 2 cards. And I distinctly remember the color was blue and pink. And he gave it to me. And I was super puzzled. What is this? What is he trying to do? Once I saw those cards closely, they were report cards of both his sons. And he said, with whatever you were doing, I was able to educate both my children in 2 years. So therefore, I believe the smallest of ideas can bring massive change around the world, and that's why I love working with the youth, because they have the ability to question something stereotypical, and this has been one of the best, moments of my entire
Now
life.
it's my turn to cry now. Wonderful. Wonderful. Nice story, Sankal. Thank you.
Well, I would like to... I would like to start with the educational system related question. If you ask me what's the current condition of educational system in Bangladesh, I would honestly say that it's not good enough. Because whenever you are applying for a job sector in Bangladesh, the first question they will ask you, do you have any higher degree or foreign degree? That simply indicates that means the degree of your own country is not sufficient to get qualified in that particular job. So I personally believe that our standard should be in that level so that degrees from our country is more than enough to get qualified or to get selected in an interview pool. Well, the second question was related to hobbies. Well, basically I was expecting this question from the poll. So I would love to share 3 or 4 websites name that usually I visit in my leisure time to learn a lot of things. Like, have you ever heard of Crello.com? C-R-E-L-L-O, Crello.com. Crello.com is one kind of website where you can make customized poster, customized backdrops, and so many customized stuff completely free with free templates. Amazing templates are there, and usually what I do, I make templates from them. And it's kind of like freelancing work. It's a quite interesting stuff. The second thing, website I would like to share is tetra.com, Tetra.com. If you are interested to know what happens inside Google, Facebook, what are the organizers do, how do they behave, especially the corporate cultures of highly corporate sectors areas, you know, Facebook, Yahoo, Tetra.com will let you know what actually happens inside Twitter, Facebook, in official sectors, you know, how do they behave, what's their office cultures. I love to read about office cultures in most of the time. And lastly, I would love to talk about Workplace. Have you ever heard of it? Well, Workplace is the Facebook version for working. Like in 10 minutes, in most of the corporate areas, they use Workplace to communicate with each other because Facebook is too much informal in few cases. And most of the cases like, you know, you get message from different sectors, you get selfies. You don't need those things in your corporate life, right? So Facebook has this Workplace, this another version of for the corporate people where they can communicate by themselves, and it's an amazing thing. You can download it from your App Store, from your Google Play, and there are plenty of insights inside the Workplace application. So you can actually learn a lot from this particular application. And lastly, I would love to say about the question that came from the Bangladeshi participant, that what is the future initiative that we are going to take from 10 Minute School about the women empowerment? Well, the South Asian parents love to see their children in television most of the time. Like whenever someone sees their child in television, they call their neighborhood bhabis and say, "Bhabi, did you see my child out there? Yeah, you see, what is your kid doing out there?" So, they have this kind of tendency. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of sad sometimes. So we are planning that we are picking 100 best speakers and qualified girls from the Girls' School and College of Bangladesh, where they will be teaching live in television. So that, first of all, most of us think that, okay, in television, people can go out there just for entertainment purpose. No, that's completely wrong. People can actually go there to share their ideas, to do something for the societies. And we are picking the best girls from Bangladesh so that we can teach the society, okay, the girls you are talking about, that they are not eligible enough to perform anywhere. See here, where more than 16 crore people are watching them live and teaching from that one particular person in just one single show. Just one hit and your daughter is famous all over the country. So that's all from me.
Thank you. Hong.
My fellow panelists has answered most of the questions. I'm just gonna mainly focus on the social enterprise questions because I love business and I'm an entrepreneur myself. So this is one of the things that I've done a lot of research on, and I've also kind of tried to be leaning towards with my organization. So with a social enterprise, what it is basically a business model that helps the society. And this could be in many ways. So the first social enterprise that I've heard of is like a cafe. It's just a normal cafe. It operates normally. They take profit. But the thing is, every Friday they have like social night where people just can come in and play charades or play Scrabbles with each other. And this promotes This promotes mental health. So for a charity organization, a way to make it sustainable is to try and incorporate business aspect, which is why I think incorporating a more social enterprise kind of ordeal with a charity organization is the best way to go. So there are many ways to go with it. For me, at least, for our organization, we host a lot of bake sales to like big events, to now we have a like organic tea label that we're selling out to the general market, to the general public. And about how to start a charity organization with no money. Well, you make money, and it's a lot simpler than you think. Just start small. Get a table and like bake some food and sell it to people, and that's how you generate your first cash flow, and then continue and then upscaling it until you become bigger. And little you know, you might get sponsors, you might get interest from other people. Being in conference like this, just network and you'll be all set. And also, I love that question about hobbies. So I'm a very normal, typical teenager. I play basketball, I do swimming, I sing, I play the piano, I binge watch on TV series. So it's not that time consuming to be involved in social work.
Okay, so make sure there's no formais for her to sing. I think we are almost done with the timing. Since I promised, maybe would you mind if I ask few questions and then wrap up the session, or you still have very important questions anywhere left in some of those tables over here? Okay, one, another one. Let's make it two over here. From this corner to that corner, wow. Okay, let's start from that back table, yes.
Hello. First of all, this session was really informative and I really liked what you said. So my question is for Dilbhushan sir specifically.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
So like you didn't, I think you didn't touch about the perspective that how to reach out to media when you have an idea to share.
Okay.
You want to share to the world, but you don't know how to reach out to the media, and you can't do anything about it. So how do we reach out to the media? And that's all.
I will, sir. I'll be happy to do a tough talk as well with you people. No worries. Okay.
My question was pretty much similar to that. It's like, particularly, it's focusing on Sakline Bhai and to you since you're a journalist. So my question is, do you think like social medias like Facebook, Instagram, is it better than mass media like television or TV programs? Like, does it help more to get the audience or to interact? And I'd like to add something here. Like, you see now, these days, the social media, there are a lot of news and all that. So because there are a lot of news, there are also a lot of fake news. So fake news. So what I believe, like, how to like really differentiate the actual thing, and like how to choose the right news, and then like you get my point.
Thank you. I got it. This is something. It sounds something like it was already framed. Okay, I'll turn again back to the floor and then ask for a question. So two of you will rise and then put me a question. It's something like framed. That's designed earlier. It sounds like that, right? Even in the media, we have some theories called framing theories. We have a theories called priming theories, where you inject your agendas. When governments have their press conference, they have particular agenda to highlight, and the press highlights that. And the audience understands as if that nothing is happening in the society except these one or two framed or prime stories. This was a jokes apart. So reaching out to press, it's not that tough. Journalists are everywhere in the street. You can see them. It's not that having access to senior officials to government, or reaching to the prime minister. It's simple. So basically, idea is when you have an event or when you have a stories to share to the press, make sure you have the contacts of these people. And getting the contacts in this new world is not a big deal. You can visit their websites. You may have a telecommunication system where you can inquire for their telephone numbers. And in most of the cases, the editor-in-chiefs have provided their direct hotline as well to reach them out. So when you have an event, you just make sure that you have a proper press release or a proper letter that tells about your program, about your stories. So, and once that invitation or your letter or your call reaches to these people, I think they will appreciate. Because this approach will still be new approach for this press, because they have been hearing a lot of requests or calls from other departments or other senior people in the society, but not a teen. It might be very interesting for them to get an invitation when someone calls and says, well, I'm just 16 years old and we have an organization, it's run by, it's purely run by youths, and they might be very interested to know about what the teen in my society or the youths in my society have been doing. And this is how, if you have noticed the youth movement in most of the countries throughout the world, the activities that youth have been doing are very importantly or highly, I mean, with a big priority, it has been covered throughout the media. I think it's not that big deal. And maybe the other approach would be, even in any functions, when you just approach these people saying, hello, I'm Mr. Shaklin or Sankalp or Hong, with the, or these are just the name that I know, because you could be anyone over there. You can just approach, and this itself may be a very new experience for any journalist, because as I told you, they might be facing a senior minister or officials in the society, but they might be neglecting teens or youth in the society. But when you approach them and tell them about your story, I'm sure they'll be impressed. See why I'm here. Today is Saturday, and I'm preparing for my PhD leading MPhil. Yesterday I had my one paper, and tomorrow I have another paper, and I'm talking to you people, and it shows the importance that I'm giving to you all, or else I would have been in my house, like, how do you study? I forgot how to study, man. In this age, I'm going back to the school again, and it's tough. I need to run away immediately after this program and start reading my books. And it's tough. Yesterday's exam was very tough. Oh my God. Anyways, let's wrap up. I have a few questions to Sankalp. It's again to inspire the rest of the friends in the floor. Tell me a little about your role model, and why are you so inspired with your role model? Another 5 minutes. Ladies, he's standing there, sorry.
Check. So my role model, I basically have three, and I'm being very honest here, even though it sounds extremely cliched, is my family, for several reasons. I'll tell you about all. Firstly, my father, he served the Indian Army for over 2 decades, and he was also a part of the Gorkha Rifles, so very closely connected with Nepal. And post his time with the Indian Army, he's now serving in the corporate field, and one of the biggest massive supporters of my work. And I think the reason I'm able to do anything that I want to do towards the society is because of the support I receive from him. At the same time, while he's doing so much. So my first role model. Second would be my mother, a housewife, a homemaker who was basically from India. And she was, always at home, taking care of the family, making sure we do well. But what I did this one time, like every mama's boy, you think the prettiest woman on the planet is your mother, right? So what I decided was I'm going to secretly register her for the Miss India pageants.
Wow.
And she went on to winning Mrs. India Asia International World.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So since then, now she's into this entire field, and she's also into life skills training and counseling and all of that. So from going to being a homemaker who was never even comfortable with a microphone, to now being a champion at speaking to people and motivating and inspiring. And finally, my sister, hands down, biggest role model. She's basically been good at everything she does. Topper in her board exams in 10th, 12th, triple degree in microbiology, runs an NGO that is finding a cure for cancer. She's got her papers published in the UK. And even though she sounds all nerdy, at the same time, she's one of the top models of India now. And she's this big celebrity, Instagram famous, over 100,000 followers, working super hard. There was this one time where in about 2 years, she lost about 38 kgs and super fit and basically good at everything she does. So
Who's their role model?
I don't know. Basically, me coming from a family like this, you have to stay on your toes and do well when you see people working so hard within your own house. So hands down, they would be my role models.
Okay.
Well, my role model is my mother. So my mother is a school teacher whose duty time is from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So what she does after when she's done with the teaching, she helps the poor kids, she teaches the poor kids completely free of cost till 4 p.m. And there is this incident that occurred when I told my mom, Mom, can I borrow few money, a significant amount of money from you? My mom was like, okay, I invested this month's salary in somewhere else. I was asking her, then what happened? Like, can you please share if it's too much, not too much personal? So her reply was, she bought uniform for almost 30 students of her school with the full of her salaries. And like that made me so much emotional that I never like kind of asked money from my mother again, because I felt like my mom is doing something great with her money, whereas if I had borrowed that money, I would have gone to KFC and buy some chickens and eat it. So she's investing the money in the right place, and I have a dream. I'm saving up till now. Do you guys are familiar with the term Hajj that Muslim does in Makkah? Well, costly one, you know. So I'm saving money for my mother so that I can take her to Saudi Arabia and let her perform the Hajj.
Beautiful, thank you. Hong.
So again, my role model is my mom, but for maybe different reasons. So my mom is a female businesswoman, and she's an entrepreneur. What really inspires me about her is that she's one of those people that don't think age is a limit to anything. She thinks making these charity organizations, you don't have to be a certain age, you don't have to have like certain experiences, you just have to have like a passion to do it, and you can do it. And there's this one story I want to share, because I've always been interested in business, and I've seen my mom did like Forex trading, and the moment I told mom that, oh wow, that looks really interesting, I want to try, she actually gave me like her account. She was like, try. And that was, yeah, like a kid doing Forex trading at like 12. It's kind of weird.
This is the last question, sorry, final question. Sankalp, if you don't mind, if you were given a chance to change one thing in your society, what would you change?
If it was just one thing, it would definitely be the mindset. Changing the mindset in my society could basically help every single issue of sustainable development in India, in Bangalore, around the world, in every single country. That's the only thing I would want to change, the mindset.
Thank you. Sakleen.
It would be the education system, that's for sure.
I guess to people to care more about other people. Yeah.
I was also thinking to change one thing if you would ask me. That's my age, anyways. Thank you everybody. Thank you all the participants. I think it was very engaging, your patience. Thank you three of the panelists over here. It was wonderful listening to you. I usually have one guest every week in my show. I've interviewed the Prime Minister, I've interviewed the President, but this was more engaging. I'm honestly giving you this compliment. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. And may the society see you on the top, more on the top, as the more established hero in the society. Thank you, Glocal team, for this opportunity, and thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, our amazing panelists and our respected moderator, Mr. Dilbhushan Pathak, for such a fruitful and insightful panel discussion about the social perspective on sustainable development. Yes, there are opportunities and challenges for teenagers, but on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, teenagers, although considered young in age, have the greatest minds that can change the world. The stories of these amazing teenagers are not only giving the examples, but they are also sending out the messages that teenagers are the change agents of society. So now, in order to honor our panelists and our moderator with token of appreciation, I am very delighted to invite on stage the very dynamic and amiable Miss Alina Prajapati, the General Manager at Glocal Private Limited. It's an absolute honor to have with us today Mr. Dilbhushan Pathak. So I would like to request Alina ma'am to hand over the token of appreciation to sir. Please give them a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And our amazing panelists, as they spoke about their role models, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that after this panel discussion, they are in fact our role models. Don't you agree with me? Yes.
you.